Hello, I'm Lyn Jarvis, contributing editor for Across the Fence, and join me for an adventure that will start here in Belgium and continue on to Holland for a look at one of Mother Nature's most spectacular flower shows, the spring bloom of tulips. With street musicians and carriages to ride, Ghent is a charming place and is one of Belgium's oldest and most historic cities. Inhabited since the Stone Age, its name comes from a Celtic word meaning confluence of two rivers, now known as Scheheldo and Lere. Around 950, the abbot of Glastonbury left manuscripts here used by the poet de Troyes, who immortalized the names of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. On Christmas Eve 1814, here was signed the treaty ending the War of 1812 between Britain and America, the last peace treaty the two countries ever signed with one another. It was the site of the 1913 World's Fair, highlighting the art, science, and architecture of the time. Artifacts are now on display in the Ghent University Library. This is Graverstein, a castle of the Counts, restored by Philip of Alsace in the 12th century. Since the Counts had to maintain law and order, they continually moved from one city to another building similar fortresses. This is the only one that has survived the centuries. St. Bavo's Cathedral is the oldest in Ghent and my favorite stop, in part because we were fortunate enough to be here for a concert by harpist Marc Francois. Let's listen for a moment before we begin our tour. Stepping inside, you feel dwarfed by the cathedral's ribbed vaulted ceiling that rises over 1,000 feet above you, proudly displaying a 5-panel stained glass window designed by Jean-Baptiste Bethune in the mid-1800s. The cathedral is named after St. Bavo, a 7th century nobleman who became a saint after giving away his possessions to the sick and unfortunate. This masterpiece by Peter Paul Rubens shows St. Amadis receiving him into the monastery. And in the foreground, Rubens depicts Bavo's wealth being distributed to the poor. Equally impressive is this Baroque pulpit sculpted from white marble entwined with oak, representing the triumph of truth over evil. But what many consider the most coveted and famous painting in the world is here, the Adoration of the Mystic Lamb by the brothers Van Eyck in 1432. This collection of 20 panels depicts the Annunciation when the angel Gabriel tells Mary that she will bear the Son of God. It is exquisitely executed and shows jewels that shine in the refracted light, and the individual hairs on a horse's mane can be counted. It is a miracle that the treasure has survived, as it has been involved in 7 separate thefts, the most catastrophic being during World War II, when it was nearly blown up by the retreating Nazi army. In 1934, thieves broke into the cathedral and stole the lower left panel, and it has never been found. A copy awaits the original's return. We have made our way to our home for the rest of our adventure, the Aria, a 418-foot riverboat docked near Steenplan Square on the banks of the Scheheldo River. For the next 9 days, we'll make our way north through the Netherlands, eventually arriving in Amsterdam. Our riverboat docked at many small towns along the way, the first being Terrenotion in the Dutch province of Zeeland. A pleasant town of about 55,000, and we knew we were in Holland when we saw this painting of a windmill. We turned the corner and entered City Square, and it felt good to stretch our legs on this sunny spring day. They say it rains 230 days a year here, and folks were enjoying an outdoor meal despite the chill in the air. It's the home of the legendary Flying Dutchman, a captain who cursed God and was condemned to sail the seas forever, immortalized in Wagner's epic opera, The Flying Dutchman. The best part about traveling is coming upon the unexpected, and here in Terrenotion, we were excited to see scout troops who were hosting an annual event for the community. I asked Yannick Sprout what was going on.
Now this event is called Scout It Out, and we're doing a lot of games and a competition. And our competition is that we must find some letters, and everybody will may do this. The scouts, all kind of childs, everybody can go with us. Also old people and young people. You can jump on a jumping castle, and you can make bread, and you can smink yourself. It is nice. I think everybody is having a good time here.
Thank you, Yannick, and so did we. Our next stop was Vera, dominated by the town hall, built in 1474, that towers above everything else. In its spire is a 48-bell carillon, certainly more than enough for this small village of some 1,500 people, as we were about to find out. At the very top is a gold-plated replica of the Flying Dutchman, the ship that we saw back in Terra Notion. What happened next is what I remember most about Vera. For no particular reason, the chimes rang and the bell tolled. On and on they went, and you can imagine how annoying it became. Aside from the bell that refused to stop, Vera is a lovely place with cobblestone streets and interesting shops and architecture. Once an important seaport, it's now the principal marina of Vera Lake, a favorite place for boating enthusiasts. By the time we walked over to its shores, the ringing had stopped, or we were just out of earshot. It's one of the largest lakes in Holland, created by storm surge barriers built in response to floods in 1953 that took the lives of more than 2,500 people. From that tragedy came the massive Delta project, ensuring that such a disaster would never happen again. We were all excited to see our first windmill here. Built in 1907 to grind grain, it is known as the cow windmill because back then cows would graze in its shadows. But today it was sheep who were very much enjoying an outside meal after a long winter, as was this family who put on their jackets to enjoy the afternoon sun on their back porch. The clock had been repaired and all was well in Vera. It has much to offer and is a pleasant place to live and popular tourist destination. After a night of sailing, we arrived at the port of Rotterdam, the fourth largest in the world, and docked near St. William's Bridge. After breakfast, we boarded buses for a tour to Delft. Dating to the 13th century, it was the longtime home of the Dutch East India Company. But it is best known for the unique blue and white pottery, called Delftware, produced here for more than 400 years. Stefan Delfos, owner of De Chandelier, explains how it is made.
Then you have in a white plate again. You don't see the painting anymore. Painting is under the glaze, ready for the second firing. It's 1850 degrees Fahrenheit, another 9 hours. And in the second firing the glaze will melt. So the glaze will melt, will be transparent, shiny, and then you're getting also the chemical reaction with the paint and the glaze, and then this blue. Yeah, will be like this blue. It's the same color. This is our trademark on top, of course. And this is what you find on each item in the shop. We don't import stuff. What you see in the shop is all produced here and entirely hand painted. It has this trademark on the bottom, on the side, on the back, and then it's looking like this. Now the factory name is the Kandelaar. That means the candle holder. So we have a candle as a trademark. We have DC, the company's initials. We have Delft, the city. That's very important. The fake ones say Delft Blue. Delftware, hand painted, things like that. Now the genuine pieces never say hand painted, they have the initials of the painter. AR, it's a lady in the shop. SD, that's quite an important guy. That's me.
And many took the opportunity to buy an authentic piece of Delftware here at De Chandelier. For those of us who had a few euros left, we wanted to buy some locally made cheese, and were told to make a left at the Delftware signpost. Sure enough, Sven was waiting and invited us into the Henry Willig Cheese and More Shop. It's one of 12 shops located throughout Holland, famous for its Gouda cheese with a mild, creamy taste that has not changed since first made hundreds of years ago. To keep the shelves stocked for the more than 1 million visitors a year, the company employs close to 200 workers with more than 60 milk suppliers. It was hard to choose what to bring home as there are so many options, but in the end, it was the smoked Gouda and one of the more traditional. The town is also well known as the birthplace of artist Johannes Vermeer, whose story was told in the 2003 movie Girl with a Pearl Earring. He was born here and lived nearby with his wife and 11 children. He painted mostly domestic interior scenes that were set in 2 rooms of the house. Close by is this museum dedicated to Vermeer, housing many artifacts. He died at the age of 43, and only 36 of his paintings are still known to exist. He worked slowly with great care, and is particularly renowned for his masterly treatment of light and shadows. Here is a look at some of my favorite Vermeer paintings, starting with Girl with a Pearl Earring. Just 15 miles from Rotterdam is a UNESCO World Heritage Site with 19 precisely preserved working windmills called Kinderdijk. Translated, it means children's dike, and most appropriately, we were welcomed by this young lady playing her wooden flute at the entrance. Legend has it that after the St. Elizabeth flood of 1421, a farmer noticed a cradle floating in the water. Upon closer inspection, he saw a cat jumping to and fro. When he was finally able to rescue the cradle, inside was a sleeping baby who had survived, thanks to the cat who had kept it balanced in the rough waters. Does that story sound familiar? It should, as it was the inspiration for the nursery rhyme Cats in the Cradle that inspired Harry Chapin's #1 song from the mid-1970s. The 19 Kinderdijk mills, built around 1740, were part of a water management system to reclaim land from the North Sea. These mills continue to be used to control the ebb and flow of the sea, a great tribute to Dutch engineering and water management skills. How do they work? Let's start at the top. The mill domes can rotate 360 degrees so they can always face the oncoming wind. An upper wheel is attached to the 4 blades just outside the wall that rests on the top of this vertical upright shaft with a brake to control the speed. The shaft drives a scoop wheel with blades designed to lift water from beneath the mill. It is said that these mills can pump up to 4,500 gallons of water a day, where it flows into nearby rivers and streams, keeping the reclaimed land from flooding. Although the windmills are still in use, 2 diesel-powered pumping stations have now relieved the stress on these historic treasures. With that, our time has run out for today, but please try to be with us tomorrow when we'll visit the world's largest flower market in the famous Keukenhof Gardens in the heart of Holland's tulip-growing region. It's known as the greatest flower show on earth, with some 7 million blooms and a variety of other flowers. Here's a short preview to whet your interest. I'm Lyn Jarvis, near Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Thank you for watching.
For a video copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888 ATF 3430. Across the Fence is brought to you as a public service by University of Vermont Extension and WCAX TV.